Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Sports Extra. I'm your host Ahmed Nawaz with the latest roundup of sports today. Let's take a look at what we're discussing. The Pakistan cricket team has arrived in Johannesburg for their second T20 international against South Africa. They're 1-0 down in the series already, so obviously this is a must-win game. Otherwise, the series is done and dusted. What can they change? It's a limited squad of 15 players, and then the strategy surely needs to change considering the run rate and our lack of experience that we saw in making certain changes, and of course going towards the depth overs as well, where we leaked almost 40 runs in the last couple of overs, which carried South Africa to a total which was beyond Pakistan's reach. So I think all in all, everything needs to be discussed in detail as well, because the fact once again is that once you look at these players, each and every one of them has that ability, but unfortunate that they cannot play according to the match situation or awareness. So we'll talk about that as well. Then of course we tell you that Haris Rauf has been nominated. He was nominated earlier and has now been announced as a Player of the Month for the ICC for his stellar performance in Australia, where he took 10 wickets in the series. He was absolutely brilliant. So we'll talk about why he's improved in the past 1 year and what has made him so successful as well. So we'll talk about that grit and that determination, and I think that focus clearly, that you just want to bowl fast, you want to play for Pakistan, you're throwing yourself all over the field, even though you're a fast bowler who's very fragile. But then again, I think that energy really matters as well, that you really wanted. So we'll talk about that in detail as well. Then of course we move on to the FIFA Women's International Friendly. In the second segment, we talk about Pakistan women, who of course were in a 1-1 draw against Saudi Arabia women team as well, and it was a great game, but unfortunate that some of the decisions were against us. Otherwise Pakistan would have clearly won this game as well. So we'll talk about that in detail. Time now to introduce the guests. First of all, joining us in studios is first-class cricketer and cricket expert Kashif Majid. Assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Walaikum salam, Ahmed, perfectly all right.
Thank you for joining us. We've also been joined by sports expert Malik Usman Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum, how are you, sir?
Walaikum assalam, I'm doing well.
Thank you for joining us. Now, of course, let's take a look at this report and then we continue.
Pakistan cricket team has arrived in Johannesburg from Durban in preparations for the second T20 international match against South Africa, which is set to take place tomorrow at Centurion. The men in green are eager to recover from their 11-run defeat in the opening match of the series. South Africa leads the three-match T20 international series at 1-0 after securing a hard-fought win in the first match, which was played in Durban. In that game, South Africa posted a challenging total of 183 runs for 9 wickets in their 20 overs. Pakistan fought back but fell short, managing only 172 runs for 8 wickets in response. With the series at stake, Pakistan is looking to bounce back strongly in tomorrow's encounter. The third and final T20 international will take place in Johannesburg on Saturday, offering both teams another chance to showcase their skills. Beyond the T20 international series, the two teams will also face off in a series of 3 one-day internationals and 2 test matches, promising an exciting continuation of the tour.
There you have it. All you need to know about the second T20 now. The preparations underway. Malik Usman, how would you analyze Pakistan now going into the second T20? Because there are a lot of problems which we know. Probably Rizwan knows his strike rate as well. The team management knows. And there's a very limited squad that you can play around with. So obviously, instead of the squad, maybe the strategy needs to change.
In the previous episode in which I featured, I was stating that the team has all those same resources which they were having a couple of years back. So Aqib Javed, with all his talk and all his Aqib ball qualities bringing to this Pakistan side, I don't think that much has changed. You had the same Rizwan and Babar opening the innings while chasing more specifically, because the idea probably was they are good chasers of a total in T20, but having Saim Ayub at 1 down, and we saw how brutal he can be in the power play, you have wasted a resource which could have been so handy in the first 6 overs. So there is a lack of planning, and there is a probably fear of failure factor that is featuring in Pakistani team for a very long time. So you have to bring your more confidence and more aggressive approach to this team if you want to get new heights, you want to reach new heights, you want to win more matches than losing more. Looking at the performance of Pakistani team in this T20, everybody in the stadium and everyone who was watching this game knew that Rizwan, once Babar Azam got out, he was someone who was going to only anchor the innings. See, anchoring just doesn't mean that you cannot play your shots. You can get the odd boundary out, you can get a couple of sixes or a boundary, but for us anchoring means it's single and double and just bringing the other batsman on strike. That puts a massive pressure on the other batsman. look what Saim Ayub had to do, what Tahir had to do, and the players featuring later on, even Usman Khan. Usman Khan is not someone who can go berserk from the first ball itself. So there was a lack of planning, or if there was some planning, there were lack of resources for those kind of execution. So we knew Pakistan was way behind the 8 ball after the first 4, 5, 6 overs. Once Saim Ayub got out, there was no batsman who could strike the ball at 200 of 100 balls, and that is where our downslide started. And the unfortunate part is that Rizwan was there to see this whole episode until the 20th over. And once he
But
get
Usman,
going,
do you also believe that because there is an evolution, you know, it was said that had there been any other side in the world, they would have tried to chase it down in the 18th over instead of going for the 20th. Well, I was gobsmacked that we were very comfortable taking 3 runs in a T20 game in an over. So a couple of overs, 3-4 runs only, and we were very comfortable.
18th over, I don't think even this Pakistani team was going to chase this in the 20th over. You went after the bowling only when you realized that the required run rate went up to 15. That is not chaseable for this Pakistan team, or forget about Pakistan, any other team in the world as well. So once you were out of the game, you just wanted to go helter-skelter just to show that we are in for a fight. You were not in for a fight. I think this was a good chasing ground. It was not a bad chasing ground. One side of the boundary at the square leg was pretty small, and you could have targeted that with your left-right combination.
The pitch was brilliant for batting.
Pakistan had all those things in their favor, but they just did not have that mindset chasing 180 odd run. Probably they were thinking about 160, 170, which usually have been their chasing targets.
Absolutely. Kashif, the fact is that it's not just about the chase, it's about the planning and execution. And obviously, Rizwan was given a rest in the Zimbabwe series. Now he's come back, and like I said, that everybody's realizing that there are certain misfits in the team. But how do we take them forward? And the question for Aqib Javed would be probably that he wants to give them, it might be, one last run before he moves on to his approach.
I guess this is how it is. When we talk about last over given to Sufyan, I still believe it's the right move, because ultimately it's just a T20 match, and Sufyan has to learn a lot from every single match he played. Previously, he bowled against Zimbabwe, which is a weak link in the context of the teams playing T20. So when we talk about Sufyan coming to South Africa and going around 50 runs in 4 overs, this is his learning curve. It's just a match. So this is where I think it's good. It's a learning curve for Sufyan. But having said all those things, for all those guys who are experienced and part of this setup for quite some time, this is their turn to raise their hand and said, this is my game and I will win it for Pakistan, because ultimately that will ease out the pressure on any newcomer coming into the side. And unfortunately, this just couldn't happen. It was Rizwan's turn to win the match for Pakistan, as well as his youngsters who is part of the Pakistan team. Maybe that would have eased out the pressure on Saim Ayub. It could have eased out pressure on Tayyab, and next match they'll feel comfortable going into the second match. They are 1-0 up, courtesy Rizwan's brilliant performance, or a single-handed chase, we can say. But unfortunately, this couldn't happen. And now when we go into the second match, there is a one performer in the shape of Rizwan who has scored some runs and no one else. Nobody would talk about how those runs have been made and how the amount of pressure he puts on the non-striker, on the second man, his unit going with the partnership, because ultimately when he takes a single and there is a chase of 10 runs per over, it's the responsibility of the other guy to score big or hit big. And when he got out, again he comes into his shell that he is playing a sheet anchor's role. A sheet anchor role can be played when you are playing with our experienced guy at the other end. It's not you always play the sheet anchor role and you ask a newcomer who's been playing his third or fourth ODI or T20 that you'll be the one who will be going berserk and scoring the runs for Pakistan. So ultimately, it's I don't want to quote it, but it's like saving your own skin and feeding the goats to the lion.
Yeah, absolutely, but I think it's very clear that, you know, that I understand that you can improve your strike rate and average in the last 10 deliveries, and then, you know, bring everybody as a good omen. When you talk about data and numbers, then everything would look good on the stats board. But then again, the match situation really matters. You've got to think about it as well, and it was a great pitch for batting. The boundaries were there. We saw what Miller was doing, effortless. So, you know, it wasn't like that the pitch was very difficult as well. But, you know, 2 years ago, Usman, we remember that the whole of the country was in a debate that Babar and Rizwan should not open for Pakistan. Some said that they should open for Pakistan. Although that debate, I would say, to very much extent does not matter anymore, because after 2 years we're still with the same openers. We've done nothing else than that. But it really matters that if you've got 2 of them and Saim, then somebody, sanity should prevail that Babar can come at number 3. There'll be no difference, and he plays the spin as well.
That is one of the problems, that linchpin in this Pakistan side is Rizwan. If you don't open with him, he doesn't have a place in this playing 11. That is one of the problems. And then the problem for me for this Pakistan side is the mentality. If you look at the resources, all of them have similar strike rates, 120 to 130. Only Irfan had 134, and see, Shaheen Shah Afridi came above him to bat for Pakistan. So these are some of those controversies that I just don't understand. What is the mentality? What is that new thing that is coming for Pakistan? See, you don't have a T20 World Cup until 2026, and yet you are going with the same resources, same idea, same execution. So you're not learning anything, and all this talk comes around Babar Azam. What is Babar Azam doing in the team? Which position should he play? Whether he should feature or not? See, after all the talk, he still has a strike rate of 129, and your captain, fantastic, has a strike rate of 125. And scoring 70 odd runs at a strike rate of 119.1 is not doing any good for Pakistan, but nobody is criticizing him. That surprises me. See, the problem with Pakistan team is approach. What mentality you have to take into that. If you had heard the commentators talking about Pakistan batting, we all know it's a very, very outdated approach. Going with the sheet anchor role, the other player is going to hit. If this is a very, very modern day of cricket, they all know how to target the leg side boundary, the offside boundary, the shorter boundary, the longer boundary, and how you have to utilize the left-right combination. In that age of cricket, you still go with the mentality of 80s and 90s that one of the batsmen is going to play the sheet anchor role and the other is going to go for hits. I completely agree with what Kashim Majid was stating. If you are the most experienced guy, you have to take on the bowlers. You have to take the onus upon yourself and let your lesser experienced player to get into the game. If he has the pressure of hitting from the ball 1, obviously you don't have any player in your squad who is capable of doing this, to hit the ball from ball 1, and then you are playing with their international experience.
There are 3 serious question marks over here, Rizwan. One of them is that for Rizwan, one is if he's not the opener, does he fit into that?
Obviously, he doesn't feature. He himself once stated that it was Misbah-ul Haq who gave him this idea to open the innings. Else he wasn't. He was finding it very difficult.
And second most important one is going to be if he's not the captain. Does he deserve a place in this side? I think that is also a big question. Right
Obviously, he doesn't deserve, because a player like Muhammad Haris can easily feature as a wicket-keeper batsman in this Pakistan side. Third question.
Third question is the question that are we going to carry Babar Azam till the 2026 World Cup?
See, a person like me, I think you need to have Babar Azam in your squad, certainly. You can debate about the playing 11, but someone like Babar Azam with such a fragile batting of Pakistan historically, you need a world-class batsman in your side. And if you have to pick between Rizwan and Babar, obviously Babar is by far the better batsman.
Because the equation is still incomplete, because the only impact player right now that the whole world talks about is Fakhar Zaman. And if he comes back to the side, then I think number 4 or number 3, that position really opens up how you rotate around these 4 players.
See, there was a point in 2007 World Cup. Pakistan was the only team that picked this T20 format very quickly, and you remember that Misbah-ul Haq came into the side and Muhammad Yusuf was dropped. Obviously, Muhammad Yusuf to date is not a good T20 batsman, and that was one masterstroke that Pakistani management played, and it beared a lot of fruits. But now it is the opposite. You want to play with the names, you want to play with the statistics, 40 average and scoring 50s and centuries. Those don't matter in T20 cricket. It is all about impact. Look at Samson, look at what the other players that have been playing for India for the last couple of months or the past 1 year are doing. 27 victories, 3 defeats out of the 30 games they have played in this whole year. And for Pakistan, it's the quite opposite. They have not even won half of those games by playing this outdated approach. See, you're not going to lose more games. Just change your approach. take out that fear of failure factor out of this team, and Pakistani teams has the players in the first class cricket that can feature in this team and bear fruits. Let go with this Rizwans and Babars who you think are more conventional. It's not just about those two players. If you look at the whole lineup, it is the similar strike rate kind of players that are featuring until number 7.
Absolutely, but Kashif, obviously the bigger question then becomes that if you are willing to make that change, do you have those resources who will come and occupy and be those players for Pakistan?
Okay, the experiment for Pakistan cricket unfortunately starts at international level. There is no single player we can talk about that is playing extraordinary in domestic cricket. Let's talk about the keepers. We provided ample opportunities to Mohammad Haris. He's leading Pakistan Shaheens, and unfortunately he couldn't make any impact captaining Pakistan Shaheen or playing for the Pakistan Shaheen. I can go with the statistics, I can go with the strike rate, I can talk anything about. But when we talk about Mohammad Haris, who have played in 2022 World Cup, and Mohammad Haris, who have been playing recently, I can figure out a simple stroke he used to play. That is a heave over mid wicket, and that is it. Going through Mohammad Haris' journey, how many times you have seen that there is a reel coming out of Mohammad Haris batting that he's playing an extra cover drive, a cut shot, a drive, a flick, something like that, even anything towards offside, nothing. So when we talk about replacing Rizwan, we have to come up with a player who can replace Rizwan. This is as simple as that. We talk about Hasibullah, yes, he can be one guy who can replace, but Hasib then has to perform extraordinary in the domestic arena or anywhere. I'm not supporting Rizwan for the sake of supporting it, but I want someone to replace Rizwan or anyone in the team and then say goodbye, this is my spot.
But that's a very technical problem. Since the time of Sarfaraz Ahmed's inclusion into the side, we have not worked on developing a wicket-keeper batter who could occupy those formats for Pakistan. Still the case right now,
I totally agree. When Sarfaraz was the captain and he was playing as a leader who have won around 11
T20 series,
11 T20 international series, Rizwan was one guy who was consistently in and out of the side, but he proved his way by performing and outperforming Sarfaraz in the shorter format. This is as simple as that. And when he outperformed Sarfaraz, the Sarfaraz place in the side as well as his captaincy came into the question, and eventually he got dropped from the team again in the T20 format, then one day, and then the test format. This is how Sarfaraz's decline started, primarily because Rizwan played some extraordinary innings on those days, and of course his fielding standards were too good. So this is the process of replacing someone in an international team. Talking about Rizwan and Babar simultaneously in the team, it's again a very simple mantra we used in the 50 over format, and we lost that semi-final against India when Yunus Khan and Misbah was simultaneously in the middle of the pitch, and none of them can score briskly, and we lost that match. There is a patch of around 15-20 overs which was so barren that eventually we lost that match because Omar Akmal and Shahid Afridi and Raza couldn't cope up with the run rate. This is exactly what's happening in Pakistan's T20 format. Whenever these two guys are playing, they can chase 140 quite easily, but the moment we have to chase 160 plus, one of them either have to sacrifice or have to play his strokes extraordinarily well, else we can lost. It's evenly disappointed that when we talk about these two presence, and again they are taking the bulk of the balls, you know, being an opener. I don't know how we can develop our middle order when our openers are consuming 90% or 80% of the balls. Then middle order has to do one thing: just go out there, heave it out. If you know if there is luck on your side, you can hit 2 sixes, majority 3 sixes.
1 out of 10 you'll be successful.
And that is it. This is a chance of probability of 1 out of 10. And eventually when they fail, we started looking back to our openers that these are our rescue guys. And when this is going on and on and on, either we have to drop someone or either we have to pick another spot in the batting order for them. Maybe Rizwan can drop to 6 and just go and play his shots towards the mid wicket, and Babar can open with Saim. If this can be the case, eventually Rizwan will fade out.
Well, Osman, what would you like to add to that argument? Because obviously that resource really matters then.
See, there are 2 points that we can discuss over here. First is that mentality that we were talking about. Okay, we can state the one fact is that they play the 70-80 balls percent of the balls of the T20 innings. That is true. But my question is that even if you look at their first class career, they have a strike rate of 125, 130. So even if you give them more number of balls, they have a similar strike rate to what Babar and Rizwan have. So my question is that firstly, are they have mentally aggressive enough? I'm not so sure. Even if they get more number of balls, I'm not so sure that how successful they are going to be. Secondly, what Kashif bhai said straight away, all of these hitters have one kind of a shot, heaving over mid wicket, heaving over the cow corner. How many of them have late cuts, sweeper, dil scoop, paddle sweep, reverse sweep? None of them. You can talk slightly about Irfanullah, but not many of them have. So most of these players, because they have been playing on cement pitches in Pakistan in first class and for domestic T20s, they don't need to invent the other kind of shots because the ball does come onto the bat and they just heave it over the mid wicket and they get the results they want. So this is another problem that these Pakistani players are facing, whether they are making their debuts or they are so-called experienced players. So the strike rate is a problem for me. Why I'm backing Muhammad Rizwan Muhammad Haris in place of Rizwan is because he's mentally he's an aggressor. Let him come as an opener with Saim Ayub. If they fire, let them fire.
Hypothetically, imagine Simon Harris opening the innings anywhere in the world, and then you bring out Fakhar Zaman at 3 and then the rest of your squad. It will make a huge difference. He's the only one who's at least innovative at this stage, as Man has said as well. And I think it really clearly makes a difference, but it's unfortunate that if we found a guy who was great in T20 cricket and then we bring him at number 4 in ODI cricket and he fails and then we say he's not good enough, that really you've got to think outside the box sometimes for T20 cricket at least as well. But in all of this, we've got a silver lining as well, where Haris Rauf has just been terrific in this Australia series that Pakistan, of course, last participated in, and for that reason he's the player of the month for the ICC as well. Let's take a look at this report.
Pakistan's pacer Haris Rauf has been named for the ICC Men's Player of the Month award for November 2024, surpassing India's Jasprit Bumrah and South Africa's Marco Jansen. Rauf's exceptional performances played a crucial role in Pakistan's historic 2-1 ODI series victory over Australia, marking their first one-day international series win in Australia in 22 years. The 31-year-old took 18 wickets throughout the series, with his standout moment coming in the second ODI, where he claimed a career-best 5 for 29 to help Pakistan level the series. Rauf continued to shine in the third one-day international, taking 2 more wickets to help Pakistan secure the series win. His all-round impact earned him the Player of the Series award. The pacer then carried his form into the T20 International Series, where he took 5 wickets, including a memorable 4-wicket haul in Sydney. Rauf also contributed to Pakistan's 2-1 series win over Zimbabwe, adding 3 more wickets to his tally. He is currently part of Pakistan's squad for the ongoing T20 International Series against South Africa, although he went wicketless in the opening match. The second T20 International between the two teams is set to take place in Centurion tomorrow.
And there you have it. Of course, now Haris has been, one improvement for Pakistan in all of this as well. And I think very particular about his career as well. Kashif, how would you highlight Haris Rauf, considering that, in the past year, there's been a visible improvement?
I guess the hard-working Haris Rauf, we can say, and now he started learning the art of taking wickets. And there is always a fortunate part attached to anyone's performance. That is, when we talk about Haris Rauf, the fortunate part was he was playing in Australia, his second home ground for me, and he got those wickets because he know how to hit those lengths in the Australia with all the experience he has got of playing BBL, Big Bash League. So this is where Haris got lucky that he played a majority of cricket or some cricket in Australia. But yes, just not Haris is just not playing there, everybody else is playing there. So it was Haris' turn to come up goods, and most probably I believe that he's a team man too. And with all this efforts he put in, with all the efforts in the field he puts in, and now he knows how to get wickets, we'll see an improved Haris, a mature Haris, improved Haris, and we know the hard-working Haris.
Absolutely, Usman. It has been a visible improvement, and I think the change in mindset has been there as well, that now he realizes that he's got to deliver on any given day.
See, he has always been fantastic in Australia. It's his second home, as we have been talking about Melbourne Stars actually his career was nurtured in Melbourne Stars. It was not because of Lahore Qalandars, but it was because of Melbourne Stars that he rose to fame, and everybody became to know about who is this Haris Rauf. And he's always been fantastic over there. Take the T20 World Cup, he featured in Australia. Then this Australian series, he was the sole reason Pakistan won that one-day series against Australia, and he couldn't fire as we all expected. So we lost that T20 series. The problem with me is that he has not been doing well off late in Asia and the T20 World Cup in West Indies, where the ball does come onto the bat, or even that West Indies pitches where the bounce was invariable, he couldn't fire. But in Australia, he's at home, he loves those pitches, it's his bread and butter, he knows where exactly to pitch the ball. But against Zimbabwe, he couldn't fire. Against the South Africa side in the first T20, he couldn't do. He needs to be slightly more consistent. We understand that this T20 is a helter-skelter kind of a format, and it can be your day one day and you can be smashed the next day. But for me, as someone who is considered specialist in the white ball cricket, more specifically the T20 cricket, I think he needs to be slightly more consistent. His effort, no doubt, he gives his 100%. He's a brilliant fielder, but as far as his bowling is concerned, he needs to be slightly more consistent for me.
It's important that we analyze bowlers around him as well, Usman, because now I think you've got Abbas Afridi, who's part of the team. Jandad Khan is in there as well. You already had Naseem Haris and Shaheen Shah Afridi in there as well. So obviously, and Ahmed Jamal is right on the side. So obviously, I think each and every one of them now realizes that it's a competitive side now.
Yeah, this is another issue, that bringing the different variety of bowlers or new resources to this team has slightly changed the role of Haris Rauf as well. If you look that more consistently he has been, and more successfully, he has been bowling well after the power play and at that. 2 overs at that and 2 overs in the middle overs, and this is where he picks up wickets. He's a good middle over bowler and the death bowler. But now, because you have got the likes of Abbas Afridi, that he has sometimes he has to complete his quota of overs before the death over. That is when he goes for runs sometimes, and he's unable to pick up wickets. Most of his wickets, if you see, are coming in the death overs.
Going into the long run right now, Kashif, there are still certain minds that want Haris to play Test cricket for Pakistan. He is very particular about his career. How does that debate end?
I guess it's responsibility for a player that he has to manage his workload, and also he has to come up with a plan about his future and that which format he wanted to play. For Haris Rauf, if he's not comfortable playing Test cricket, I think the debate should be over. If a person doesn't want to play for any specific format, I think there should not be any debate held on those topics or this topic. So for me, if Haris wants to play, he has to prove his worth, his mettle in the domestic arena. He has to play 4-day cricket, and if he doesn't want to play for in the longer format of the game, so be it. Let's find other resources, and we've been doing good with Khurram Shahzad and with Amir Hamza and all those guys.
And now you're bringing back Mohammad Abbas.
And now Abbas is coming back, and even I can say Arshad Iqbal, if he's fit there, he's a very good channel bowler, and there are so many other options. We can use them, and Mohammad Ali Daisy again performing. So we have got options of playing those red ball cricket. So let's not talk about Haris Rauf as a Test bowler, and we can stick to Shaheen and Naseem Shah being all the format bowlers, and let Haris enjoy his white ball cricket. And although he's a Test cricketer.
Well, we will always be a Test cricketer. So I think that tag stays with him. But thank you very much, Kashif and Usman, for joining us. We go towards a short break. When we come back, we discuss football. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Sports Section. Now, of course, we will be discussing Pakistan women's international friendly fixture against Saudi Arabia women. That was, of course, ending in a 1-all draw, but there was a lot of potential in this game. And although, like I said, certain decisions that went against us, we could have won this game easily. A lot of potential in there as well. We'll be looking at all of this as well. And I think if you look at the report itself, you'll know that Pakistan women clearly outplayed themselves, and it was a very, very interesting encounter as well. And to discuss this further, in studios we've been joined by the former captain of the Pakistan football team, Lieutenant Colonel retired Mujahidullah Khan Tareen. Assalamu alaikum, sir. How are you?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. Right, so sir, how would you analyze this game? Obviously, there's a lot of talent in Pakistan women's team, and they've showed a lot of potential in the past 1 year, and this was certainly a challenging match for them as well.
As a matter of fact, women's sports in Pakistan is very popular amongst the women folk, especially young women in the country. But as far as football is concerned, it's very, very popular in Pakistan, all over Pakistan rather. Or incidentally, I would say I was the one who introduced women football in Pakistan in 2005. National championship, we have organized the national championship. Our national team have been participating in different events. But for the last few years, women sports has picked up an acceleration, I would say, and they have been participating, competing in different level competition and performing very well against Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia, as you know, Saudi Arabia is investing a lot of money, especially in women's sports, that too in football. Saudis, they are very fond of football. They are very fond of football, and a lot of competition in football. Especially, they have a plan to raise their women football team extraordinary level per, and they are, as a match, they are trying hard to play competition, especially against Pakistan because of so many reasons, I would say. And fortunately, of course, the preparation at the Pakistan level for women football comparatively are very less as compared to Saudi Arabia. But our girls, our women football players, they are performing extraordinary as far as I am concerned. Because of the reason, we have hardly made any program for the development of football. We have organized few camps for the preparation, and without any proper planning, unless you have proper planning, we have got a lot of talent in Pakistan for women's football especially. And I am always of the opinion that women football of Pakistan can achieve much more achievement as compared to men football team.
Sir, this is a very particular point that you've made as well, and like I said, they have a lot of potential and promise. But sir, because you've been the former secretary of PFF as well, you've seen that structure, and like you said, you introduced women's football in 2005. The problem is that, you know, we are only preparing for what is up next. So whenever there's a tournament, they'll have a 10 to 15 days or 5 to 10 days camp, and then they'll send these girls. And it's even on the boys' side is the same as well. Why is it, sir, that we're not developing a long-term strategy based on what is required on the international level? Because our cultural dynamics, our resources are pretty much the same. We can't now say that, you know, we need enough resources as Saudi Arabia to develop a team. That's never going to happen. How do we utilize the best resources that we have?
As a matter of fact, Pakistan Football Federation, there are a lot of problems in Pakistan Football Federation, a lot of litigation, so many grouping, and problem went up to FIFA, and ultimately FIFA suspended Pakistan Football Federation and appointed a normalization committee in 2019. Incidentally, I was part of the normalization committee for 2019, but unfortunately, because of the COVID, we could not achieve the results in this regard. And the normalization committee was changed in 2021.
After 2 years.
And the present normalization committee, they were given the authority to promote football and at the same time to develop football, and to hold a main responsibility given to normalization committee was to hold election of Pakistan Football Federation. But unfortunately, election have been delayed for one reason or the other, and hopefully within months or so, they are going to hold the final election of the Pakistan Football Federation. And then Pakistan Football Federation will be responsible to plan and support women football in Pakistan especially, and men as well. But as far since I have been part of the Pakistan Football Federation, attending FIFA Congress, AFC Congress, FIFA and AFC, they gave us a lot of funds for the development of football, including women football. And as they say, they have the category told the Pakistan Football Foundation 20% of the funds will be given to, will be invested in on women's promotion of women's football. But unfortunately, till the time the proper football federation election are held, and the federation is in power, only then they will support this program.
So with your experience, I would like to personally ask you this question. There is a school of thought right now in Pakistan and across the world that believes that the only way to promote football or to harness the talent at grassroots level is by virtue of having a league. On the other side, we have got a complete structure where clubs and academies exist as well. In your experience, sir, what is the right way forward for Pakistan football?
I totally agree with you. As we all know, that best football league is organized by the England, English Premier League.
Yes, sir.
And their total football is dependent on, but then their players, they get a lot of money to play in the league. And incidentally, I was the one who introduced and who conceived and planned and organized the first Premier Football League in Pakistan in 2004. But unfortunately, I left the Pakistan Football Federation. I was the director technical, and although it was continued for some time, but then the results of the Premier Football League in Pakistan could not be achieved for so many reasons. Investment of money, you can say, sponsors, you can say, there are so many problems. But definitely I am hopeful coming Pakistan Football Federation after the election, definitely they should be interested, they should be keen
in
to
investing
promote,
in a league as well.
invest in football and organize proper professional football league.
Certainly, certainly. Sir, thank you very much for joining us and for your insights in this segment as well. That, of course, wraps up Sports Extra. You've heard from Sir Mujahidullah as well that, you know, the problems are something that exists in front of us, but how we tackle them for a long-term strategy is very, very important. And once again, that can only happen once you have an elected body that's handling these affairs according to a mandate as well. That wraps up Sports Extra from me and my entire team. It's goodbye for now.